everyone, welcome to InterviewPro. In this video, let's understand view encapsulation in Angular. Angular provides a mechanism to determine how styles are applied to the components and their DOM. It ensures that the component styles do not leak out to affect other parts of the application, and also the external styles do not affect the component styles. Angular provides three strategies for view encapsulation: emulated, none, and shadow DOM. Let's look at these encapsulation strategies one by one with an example. I have created two components, child1 and child2, and I'm using these components in appcomponent.html. Let me close this. So this is where I'm using child1 and child2 components. If we look at the UI, this is how it looks. So app component has a subscribe button. Each of these child components have a button. Let me open child component 2.html. So this has a button, child2 button, and child1 component also has child1 button. So we see that there is a style applied to subscribe button. If I go to appcomponent.css, I used named CSS selector to apply styles to the subscribe button. So what it does is all buttons inside appcomponent.html will use these styles. So if you look at the UI, only the subscribe button has these styles applied. Child 1 and child 2 do not have those styles. So how did Angular achieve this? This is called view encapsulation. If I go to inspect elements, I'll hover on subscribe. You can see that there is a unique ID assigned to all elements within the app component. So we have button, we have child components inside child container, and we have app child 1 and app child 2. If you look at this, all these IDs are same. So all elements within app component are same. But if I open this child component, now we see a new ID. This is ending with 817, whereas this is ending with 4305. And all elements within this child component have the same ID. Now, if I open child component 2, this has another ID. It ends with 0256. So all the elements inside child 2 use the same ID. So Angular uses these unique IDs to distinguish between the components and achieve encapsulation. So if I click on this button, we see that the button along with the ID has these styles. Let me copy this or let me go to child components button, copy this ID and go back to subscribe button. For this style, let me replace this ID with the ID of child component. If I press enter, look at this. Now this button uses the ID of the child 1 component. So these styles are applied to child 1 button, and button 1 or the button inside app component does not have the styles yet. So this is called view encapsulation, and this is emulated view encapsulation. So where did we specify that? By default, Angular uses emulated view encapsulation. So if you want to explicitly specify, this is where you can specify. Inside the component metadata, we have an option called encapsulation. Here, there is a enum called View Encapsulation. This is available in Angular core library. And if I put a dot, you can see all the available values inside this View Encapsulation. So if you select emulated, this is a default behavior. So you don't have to explicitly mention emulated View Encapsulation. So what it does is it it makes sure that the styles of this particular component are not impacting the other components, especially the child components. If you do not want to use emulated, like if you do not want view encapsulation at all, you can select the option called none. So if I put none, go back, you see that the style is applied to all these buttons. So if you look at the elements, we don't see any IDs here. So this is a uh, style on button. So any element with this name button will get these styles. So when we use view encapsulation none, we don't need to put these styles here because it's kind of global style, right? So it's better to put it inside styles.css. So when we put it inside styles.css, it will be applied to all the components, so to the entire code. Now, if we go to UI, we still see that the buttons inherit those styles. Now, let me go back to here. I'll remove this view encapsulation. Now, I'll go to one of the child components. Let's say child 2, or let me go to child 1. Um, child1.ts. Now, I'll put a encapsulation property here. This time I'm going to use view encapsulation dot shadow DOM. Let's see what happens. So what we did here, we moved the style to styles.css. When I have button name element, name selector in CSS, throughout the application, it tries to find the button elements and applies the CSS to all those buttons. But now we don't see this style applied to child 1 button. This is because we used view encapsulation dot shadow DOM. So what it does is when we apply this view encapsulation, it creates a separate DOM that is available only for this child component. So even if you look at elements and expand child container, expand child 1, you see that there is something called shadow root. And if I open this, I see the styles. So these styles are only for this particular component. So usually where do we see styles? In the head section, so that it will be applied to all components. But if we want to exclude a component from global styles, we can use shadow DOM so that it creates a separate DOM that is available only for that particular component. That's why we don't see the styles applied to this child 1 button. So these are the three different types of view encapsulation strategies provided by Angular to make sure that your styles do not disturb other components. So based on the use case that you have, you can decide which view encapsulation you want to use. I hope the concept is clear. If you like the content, please like, share and subscribe to InterviewPro. Thank you.